Okay, Jodiann, welcome. Ask Jodiann is a big topic, and we've got a lot to cover. Why don't you just give us a little bit of an overview as to what Ask Jodiann is and what we can expect?
Ask Jodiann started when I started my nursing career about 28 years ago, and I was so excited to be in nursing that I studied everything and I looked at all the ways that I could help patients to the best that I could. And everybody used to always say, go and ask Jodiann, she'll know. And it didn't matter whether I was in psychiatry or whether I was in general nursing. By the time I had emergency departments and I was able to use my intuition and start answering questions before the doctors, even the doctors used to come to me and say, ask Jodiann, she'll know. And so that's really where the concept of it started.
Okay, so how has it developed from there?
It started developing right from the day that I started. I was 17, walked into psychiatry. I guess first of all letting people know I'm a clinical psychiatric nurse. I'm a registered general nurse. I have a Bachelor of Health Science, and I'm also an intuitive specialist.
Okay.
So what happened for me at 17, I walked straight into the psychiatric wards and looked around me and went, this is unbelievable how this works, how the mind works is such an extraordinary thing. And I started asking myself the questions that eventually people asked me. And I think that, we all have this huge capacity to be able to answer questions within our intuition and get the answers, that I just programmed myself at a really early age to be able to get all the answers that I needed for myself and for everybody else. So it started off in psychiatry, and I was very quickly moved up. By the time I was 21, I was running psychiatric wards, and I was working in forensics psychiatry, and I was also working in the psychiatric emergency team, where you'd go out and you were basically on your own trying to navigate through some very seriously mental ill patients who were out in the community. They were a danger to themselves and to others, and if you didn't listen to your intuition, you got hurt. So my intuition really started very strongly then, and people, when I came back from those journeys out with the patients, they used to come back and ask me a lot of questions. And then I started as a trainer, and so I was really known throughout every job I've ever been. People used to always come to me and say, ask Jodiann, she'll know.
Okay, so your qualifications are quite unusual or extensive, and how have they helped you in what you're doing?
I love it. Everybody has always said to me, all the general nurses used to say to me, I'm so jealous of your psychiatry that you have. And the reason the psychiatry was so valuable is because it gives you a different form of assessment. You've got to really think on your feet so fast and pull everything together from people's behavior, from their, the way that they're dressing, from how they're speaking. So you actually have to start tuning in, and you're tuning in for your own safety. So for me, the psychiatry was so wonderful. And then from there, I realized that even though I was using my intuition and I understood about mental health, that there were gaps in my training, and that's when I decided to go do my degree in general nursing. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was able to look at the human body in a way that a lot of people don't look at it. I was very interested in alternative health science at that time as well. And I really wanted to try and pull everything together on a biological, a psychological, and a social way. And so nursing for me was the grounding for everything that I do now. I ended up running emergency departments, and that was probably the most exciting part of my career, of having so many people out there and having to triage them and know. And you basically have to, when you're a triage nurse, you have to know what's happening with everybody, and they're all using their intuition. They probably don't realize it, but they're all using it, because what they're doing is they're going, who needs to see who first, and where do I need to put everybody? And so everyone's doing it on an unconscious level they don't even aware of. But what my passion is connecting people to that so they can make it even stronger.
Okay, so you've certainly got the qualifications. What are you most passionate about?
I think during my nursing career, and one of the reasons I went into psychiatry, was that I was absolutely passionate about children's health and adolescent health. And that has still stayed probably one of the most exciting things for me, is that I struggled throughout my childhood at times, just like everyone. I had a very difficult adolescence. I came from a different country. People struggled to understand what I was talking about half the time because we talked about different concepts. So for me, my passion has always been helping youth get through adolescence in the best way that they can to make better choices. So my passions at the moment, I think across the whole board, lead to intuition, and trying to get people to connect to that and understand that they're mammals, and trying to get people to connect to their purpose in life, what their life purpose is. Try to get them to be able to download the information that they hear every day guiding them, but they don't acknowledge. Trying to get them to connect to that so that they are able to make better choices, get onto their life purpose, and redevelop empathy that a lot of us lose. because we're so busy in the technological world that we forgot to listen to ourselves and we forgot to listen to each other. So my passions really are trying to go back to the beginning where children are developing and keep them on track, trying to work with the adolescents to bring them back, and also the adults to get them to be as successful as possible.
Okay. So, give us some examples of people in their daily lives, maybe adults or children or business people. Where would they use intuition?
Intuition is with us all day. So if you can think of, this is how I explain it to everybody. If you can think that you're a little mammal, and say you're a bunny rabbit and you're sitting in a burrow, it goes, there's water over there, there's food over there, doesn't speak by the way, there's predators over there, I'm not moving, and there's a cyclone coming, I'm going to go back into my burrow and I'm going to stay there. And what they do, and the reason that they do this, is that they're listening to a whole bunch of things that we've forgotten to listen to. So when I start teaching people to listen to their intuition, what I say to them is I say to them, go back and start feeling like you're a mammal. Start using your senses. And then look at your life. Look at every topic in your life. Do you need to tune in better to your children? Do you need to use your intuition for that? Do you need to tune into your relationship? What about dating? Are you making the right decisions about the right person to go out with? One day, I've got very powerful intuition. I hear my intuition almost as clearly as a voice, like I can hear like you talking. And one day I made a very bad decision, and I wasn't listening to my intuition. It was almost like it got blocked for one day for one reason. And I had to sense my intuition like other people. And I had met this person that I had met online, and I hadn't met them yet physically, but I've been talking to them. And all day I didn't want to go, I wanted to call them, I didn't want to put my makeup on, I didn't want to get into the car. And it was such a big moment for me because I'm thinking, why aren't I getting a stronger sign about this? Well, I actually got drugged on that date. I actually went and got a drink that he ordered and got drugged. Now, I was okay and my intuition clicked in very strongly and I got out of the situation and I got safe. But the problem is that when you tune out to your intuition, and that's what happened to me on the day, my intuition backed out completely and I just had to get the senses that normal people get every day. And I was listening to the music and I was on my phone and I was probably on a dating site talking to other people, and it disconnected me from my most powerful tool I have. So for me, when I talk to people about dating or about anything, if you really don't want to go, then it's probably you're not meant to go. If it's something to do with work, if you listen to your intuition and you really want to go for that job and you're all powered up about it, it's probably the right thing to do. If you want to use your intuition to be able to make better sales or learn when to speak at the right time, hold back, use your creativity, there's no way that you can't use your intuition to better your life. There's no way at all. It's the vital thing to help you reach your potential on every level.
Okay, so aside from not listening to your phone and being distracted, what things would you suggest for people to be able to increase their intuition so they don't suffer lack of it?
Okay, so the most important thing is that you have to understand what your intuition is. You can't listen to something you don't understand. And this is the problem for most people, is that they've disconnected from it. Now, we have two internal type of voices. One is referred to as the ego state, and the ego state talks to you like your own voice, but it talks to you in a derogatory, judgmental way that sounds like a bratty teenager. And the way that it does it is that it repeats phrases to you. So it's like a little sabotage mechanism within you. So say that you were there and a woman was looking in the mirror and she was worried about her weight or worried about her appearance. The ego goes, we've got something, can trigger some kind of learning lesson, or we can trigger something negative within this person. So the ego starts repeating on a loop, and it goes, geez, you're gaining weight, geez, you're gaining weight, oh goodness, look, that guy just looked at you because you're fat. And so what happens is that you start getting lower and lower and lower in the way that you're feeling about yourself, and the ego keeps stealing your power and stealing your power, which is the only thing the ego wants to do. It wants to steal your power. I believe there's a thing, and we'll talk about this later, about being powered up. The ego's purpose is to depower you, to drain out your battery. When your battery's really low, you can't hear your intuition. Now, so if somebody came to me and they said to me, how do I hear my intuition better? I'd say to them, first of all, you've got to recognize what is your intuitive voice and what is your ego's voice. So I've explained about the ego. Now the intuition comes to you as a concept. Now everybody is different. The intuition talks to you either as a gut feeling that's really strong, a message you hear, or a visual that you get. Some people get a flash of a vision and go, I need to call my mother. Other people hear almost themselves talk in a beautiful way that says, ring your mother. So it's the voice that comes, the intuition's voice comes to you as an idea. It doesn't come to you like the ego goes, you need to do this. It's a very broken down us talking to us. Intuition is like a light bulb moment that you go, ah, and you get it. So the first thing that you have to do is that you have to learn how to recognize the two. Because some people describe it, one as a feeling of, it makes you feel great when you listen to it. The other one makes you feel bad. So if you want to know which one you're listening to, what is it making you feel? A friend of mine who I've been training came to me and she said to me, I don't know how to hear my intuition. And I said to her, give yourself a week, ask whatever you believe is guiding you, or your intuition, whatever it is, to give you some kind of sign so that you get that really clear. Now our mind is a powerful thing. It can give us the clarity too. Whenever you ask for clarity, your mind can give it to you as well. So she came to me a week later and she said to me, you'll never believe this. I heard it, I know what it sounds like. She said, I was sitting at the sink and I heard, put out your rubbish right now, they're coming early. And she ran downstairs and put a rubbish bin out just as they came around the corner 2 hours early. And now that valuable moment, she will never forget what that sounds like and what that feels like. So for her, her intuition comes as a voice, as something she hears. For some people, it's a bit harder for them because it's an abstract feeling of a gut feeling. A lot of executives talk about their gut feeling. Other people, it's this impulse to write. Einstein used to sit in a dark room or close himself off from any interactions at all with the external world and sit there and listen to his internal voice, which he called his intuition. So that's what I say to everybody. If you want to listen to it, you've got to work out what it is first for you.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about helping children. How can learning more about their intuition help children?
It's probably the thing I'm the most passionate about, and it almost makes me teary when I talk about it, because children are cut off from their intuition so young in life. When they're really young, you hear out of the mouths of babes, and it's because the children come up to you and they say the most profound thing, and it's from their intuition. Or they'll say, don't do that, or stop. Or they say, Mommy, I don't want you to go to this, or Daddy, I don't want you to go to this. Or they'll delay you. Children really tune into their intuition. But as they get older and older and older, by the time they get about 12, their ego really starts hammering them. So my passion for children and helping them is that if we can get the children to understand what their intuition is really early, number one, they don't feel alone, they feel guided. One of the things that happens, and my daughter's been going through it at times, and I watch children, I've worked in child and adolescent psychiatry, I've seen it a lot, is that they feel like they've got nowhere to go. They've got no guidance. Maybe their parents are too busy, or which is happening too often. Or maybe they just don't feel like they're being heard. But if they have an internal guidance, they still feel like they're making the right decision, because they get light bulb moments too. So they know what to do. So I take children very young. I take them with their families, I take adolescents, and with the little children, they're so open and they're little sponges. So I get them to listen to their magic voice or to their grumpy voice. And I get them to start identifying that. And when they hear it, sometimes I get them to imagine that their magic voice is a guardian angel, because it's easier for them to relate to that. Then when we get closer to adolescence, we have to change it a little bit. We have to get them a little bit more motivated to hear that voice and to understand what it is. And it's more for them, getting them to identify what their ego is and the damaging effect it's having on them, their friends, their relationships, and their future boyfriends or girlfriends in their relationships. So with the adolescents, we kind of have to bring them back to empathy, which we'll talk about a bit more in a minute, and we also have to get them to really focus on the fact that their ego is driving them and leading them to mistakes. And if they listen to that, they're going to regret it. So for them it's a little bit different, but it is my biggest passion for them. And I've written books and I've brought in programs, and these are the things that I'm getting out there as much as I can to help them.
Okay, so you mentioned your books. One of the books is Emily and the Magic Wish. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
That was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. My daughter was born with severe reflux and colic and food allergies, and I went through, and we went through a very difficult time, through pain for years and years. She slept for 4.5 years on my chest. It was that terrible for her. So every night as she clung to my little chest, I'd just cuddle her and I'd tell her this magical story of a snowman. And during the story, I'd say to her, we'd go and we'd rescue something, and we'd do something to help the environment, the plants, and the people. We'd do something. And I'd sing her this beautiful song every night, and then she'd fall asleep in my arms. And the first night Emily slept by herself without needing to sleep on me, and it brings up tears even thinking about it. It was such a beautiful moment. She slept through the whole night. She didn't wake. And that night I sat on the couch and I got this image of a book opening up. And it was a girl in the rainforest with her riding an elephant. And I went, oh my God, I'm going to write a children's story. I said, this is beautiful. And so the next day my partner said to me, oh, you're a nurse, how are you going to do that? And I went, I don't know, but I'm doing it. So the next day I sat down with 100 pages and I just started, it started out and it said, Emily breathed in. And I just went, as she was building her snowman, and I went, it's Emily's story. And tears were flooding out of my eyes as I was writing these words, and it was as if the whole universe opened up and poured out the story over 5 days, over 20 hours. It was unbelievable that every single character in this book came to life. I could feel them, hear them, touch them, and I was laughing. The book's got so much humor, and the book is one of 11. And the first book came out in over 5 days in about 20 hours. The next one came out over about 3 weeks in about 26 hours. And they just pour down to help the children. And what it does is the book has a little key that opens up their heart and reconnects them to their magic. And it reconnects them to the wishes that they have, to their ability to manifest, to their empathy. And it is just the most extraordinary book that then led me to this other children's program. But what a book, what an inspiration. You know, the day that this goes to film will probably be one of the happiest days of my life, because I can just see the wave of effect over the children and the families of bringing empowerment to everybody. It's a beautiful book.